I'd like to call upon His highest self, please.
Yes, we are here, and we're also setting a great example for the power of laughter and the way that it is able to truly allow you to relax and release and also connect with another. And so you could say that we have bonded these two vehicles together through laughter for the comfort and ease of this exploration here. And we're also wanting to say that when you are laughing so much that your face is hurting and your stomach is feeling a type of pain, this is the body releasing much tension and strain and stress as you're all needing to ease so much of that density. And so, as he is wanting to explore another lifetime as an object, we're putting forward one that we feel will be quite close to his heart and should not cause any more eruptions of laughter to interrupt this exercise. And so, we're saying he's recognizing being a book, or in today's language, it would be more of a manuscript. And this is quite significant as this is a very thick, handwritten volume that was very painstakingly written in a very clear and legible hand. And this is not a copy, as many of the manuscripts around this time were, as they were desperately trying to share different forms of information that had been found transformational or had been utilized to great effect. And so this book rests in a form of monastery, a gathering of like-minded individuals who are highly dedicated to the spreading of knowledge, the exploration of all things and all pathways. And so this manuscript was written by a rather young member who through a life of great challenge and hardship had found himself wandering aimlessly and wandering right into contact with some of the members of this place. And in meeting these people and feeling into the energy of the place and the different individuals around it, the feeling of the great study room where they would very quietly speak about different things and topics, or it would be reading or writing, teaching or learning. And so he was very drawn to this. He felt a flame ignite in him at this. And so he could often be found speaking with others late into the night, excitedly exploring different words and concepts and topics and styles of writing and expressing so many other wonderful, amazing things. And so after being at the monastery for a few years, he was quite excited when he was asked to write his experience and what he thought was important that he share at this time. And so you could say I am full and proud as a book, as I am fully embodying the great energy and focus and dedication that he put into writing these words. And this will go on to touch many lives as different individuals come in and out of the monastery and read this work, and eventually it even travels, has copies made of it, and is quite popular for a time, as it truly tells a beautiful story of what is possible when one is searching and willing and open to expanding the mind and the perceptions of what it is to be I am and what it is to exist in this reality. And so I am recognizing now what exactly my state of existence is and what my reality is in such a different form of consciousness, as I am indeed quite conscious in this book. And I'm recognizing now that, at least for me in this experience, it is not as if I was born, so to speak, as a book, or that I have a remembrance of what I was before the book. However, it is that I was wanting to experience this, or parts of this book's journey. And it is of great significance, as I am recognizing a great part of the writing process and the energy that was poured into this project of filling me up. And so I'm also recognizing many of the first individuals to read this book, even before there's really any conversation being had about a lot of the things being written within. And so I'm reading into the great excitement and also the great questioning and the journeys that come from that. I am sensing that for many individuals, as many reading this are at different levels, my awareness of them is quite clear and significant. And it's almost as if I am working with other forces to make sure certain words are being noticed and, you could say, pushed out in bold, even though there is no physical change to the manuscript itself. For each individual, certain things are standing out differently. And so I am given a deep sense of who is reading so that I may connect with their conscious awareness or for clarity of their soul, in order to truly understand what they are needing and what the purpose of them reading the manuscript is. And it's interesting indeed, as there's even one individual I'm noticing who is not really taking in any of the material of the book. They're reading it diligently as they were encouraged. The book was brought to their attention by several individuals, and so they're feeling almost duty bound to read it. And before even picking the book up, they have decided that they want to be a critic of this material, that they want to read it with a highly critical eye, and they're not wanting to give the individual who wrote the manuscript any points of favor or credit. And so it could be said that so much of what is read in the beginning is ignored. However, an understanding takes place. About 3/4 of the way through the book, and so it is the last group of pages that rapidly catches his attention with a few phrases in the very beginning. And the vehicle's wanting to know what phrases it was that caught his interest so readily when he was reading with such a critical eye. And so we are showing that there was a part in the book where the individual writing was expressing different sayings that they remember hearing from childhood. And it is a mix of statements in this section of the book, but it starts out with a saying that this individual's grandfather used to say quite often. And while it is a simple saying, something to the effect of, the early bird gets the worm, being a go-getter, being a innovator, thinking outside the box and being willing to do more than others. And the significance of this is the reader was reading with a critical eye is recognizing this as something that his father used to say to him. Almost the exact phrasing of what this man had wrote. And so in the rest of this grouping of texts and sayings, the individual is expanding upon their understanding of and their growth with these sayings, and even through some of these sayings. And so you could say this is very relatable and understandable by the individual who's reading. And so before they are even able to consciously recognize it, they are rapidly pouring through the last group of pages. And they're rapidly beginning to question and want to look deeper into things. And so there are so many more as we're seeing there's one who is in the very same monastery, and they are not doing so well there. They are truly struggling. And also, since they were truly struggling out in the world, they are really feeling a sense of dread and fear. What if this does not work out for them, as they feel they have reached the end of their rope with trying anything else? And yet we're seeing that when this individual gets his hands on the manuscript and begins reading it, he begins to feel deeply connected to the individual writing it. And he really begins to find his own power through this. And through seeing the shift, not only in the life story of the individual writing, but also in their way of expressing and writing as the manuscript moved on, and as they learned and grew themselves. And so I'm also pointing out that I said we about this book experience as this is a very significant work and creation. And so there are quite a few who are consciously observing this from the perspective of the book itself. And there is a strong connection to the trees and the leather that was used in preparing this manuscript. And it is interesting as I'm noticing that the pages of the manuscript are made from a form of leather or skin that has been processed and stretched and compressed down. However, the tree is used as the leaves and the nuts are incinerated into ash powder, and that powder is a very significant ingredient in the ink. The bark of the tree is used as a thread or binding of sorts to hold me together, and so it is just showing that there is a great amount of consciousness and significance that goes into the creation of this and really all physical books. And this allows different conscious awarenesses to be deeply connected with all that is written on these pages. That is all we have to say on that, unless there is more questions for expansion. He is just more deeply feeling into this experience and the different connections to it that he is having as this book.
Thank you. Is there any correlation or significance about that experience to the life he's living now?
Yes. And it could even be said that knowing his life design in this lifetime and the different ways he will create and produce different things that are of great significance, you could say that one of the reasons he was given that experience, that he designed that experience, was so that he could have a remembrance and an awakening of it now in this very moment, so that we can give him the great significance of processing these exercises and sessions, and in writing his own material and making his own connections and his own recordings. We're wanting him to deeply recognize the significance of all of these expressions that you are exploring and discussing and sharing.
Thank you. And is there any other information or perspectives you would like him to know about this?
Yes, we are just wanting to give the full picture of this experience. And so we will close by saying that there are several instances in which the information that is written is taken the wrong way. Just for example, we recognize someone that reads this book and then leaves the monastery and uses many parts of this to make themselves seem more wise and learned than they truly are, as if they have a greater understanding of things than others. And so they use it to manipulate and scam and take from others. And then there is family members who are quite angry and reactive about certain things that he has said and experiences he has shared. And there are several others. We're showing this and sharing this because even if the individual who wrote this had had a full conscious awareness of how it would be reacted to in a full capacity, they still would have happily and fully dedicatedly written this. And we are also showing the same for the consciousnesses within the book. They were recognizing these possibilities and in full acceptance that nothing could stand in the way of this.
Thank you. And is there any other perspectives or information you would like him to know?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. So you can receive to where you belong, and he can fully consciously recall all of the information and perspectives for him that has been provided for him today. And so he can consciously maintain all of the relevance and significance and purpose of all that there was. And he can fully return back to his body. And he can tell us when he is ready, how does he feel and what does he recall.